Under the name of Roger Chillingworth was hidden another name, which Chillingworth had decided never to use. He was unknown to all, except to Hester, and he possessed the lock and key of her silence. During the period of Indian captivity, he had gained considerable knowledge of the medicinal properties of native herbs and roots. Chillingworth had chosen Reverend Dimesdale, who was greatly admired as his spiritual guide. At about this time, Reverend Dimesdale's health began to fail. Therefore, the townspeople thought it was an absolute miracle that Dr. Chillingworth had become to cure their reverend. He became the reverend's medical advisor. Chillingworth believed that the illnesses of the body are usually connected with the problems of the heart and mind. After some time, upon a hint from Roger, the friends of Reverend Dimesdale arranged that the two should share the same house. As time went on, the part of the community began to see the old physician as a mysterious figure. Others said that Roger's aspect had undergone a remarkable change since he began living with Reverend Dimesdale. Reverend Dimesdale, who was extremely sensitive, became aware that something inimical has entered his life. He was suspicious of all mankind. He trusted no man as his friend, but he was not able to recognize his enemy when he actually appeared. While Reverend Dimesdale visited Chillingworth's laboratory, they argued because the physician accused the Reverend of hiding a secret. After a few hours, the Reverend apologized to his physician for his outburst. He asked Chillingworth to continue curing his health, agreed, and continued his medical supervision. One day at noon, Reverend Dimesdale fell asleep in his chair while reading a book. Old Chillingworth came into his room, but did not awaken the Reverend. He laid his hand on the Reverend's chest and thrust aside the vestment that had always covered it. Dimesdale continued sleeping. After a moment, the physician turned away with a wild look of wonder, joy, and horror. He threw up his arms and stamped his foot on the floor. He behaved like Satan himself when a soul is lost to heaven and won into his kingdom. The relationship between the clergyman and the physician changed profoundly. But there was now a certain malice in this old man that led him to imagine a more intimate revenge than any mortal had ever inflicted on an enemy. All this was accomplished with perfect subtlety. Although the minister felt an evil influence watching over him, he could never suspect its real nature. At times he looked doubtfully, fearfully, and even with horror hatred at the former physician. He longed to speak out from his own pulpit and tell the people what he really was. I, your pastor, whom you venerate and trust, am a profanation and a lie. More than once, Reverend Dimesdale had gone to the pulpit with the purpose of revealing his true self. Despite this, the people appreciated him even more, shouting, "He's a saint of earth!" In the Reverend's secret closet, under lock and key, there was a whip. His inner troubles led him to wipe his own shoulders while he laughed bitterly. At night, instead of sleeping, he kept vigils. One night, he opened the door and went out. While he was walking, he heard a light, childish laugh. He cried, "Pearl!" Then, with softer voice, he said, "Hester, are you there?" She replied, "Yes, I'm here." Suddenly, a bright light lit up the cloudy sky. It was a meteor. When Reverend looked up, he saw an immense letter ray in the sky. Pearl said to the Reverend, "Who is he?" pointing to Chillingworth. The only thing that was heard was silence. So, little Pearl shouted again, "I hate him!" Then Roger asked Reverend to live with him because the next day was Sabbath and he must prepare himself. Reverend, after refusing his request, went walking home with Roger. The next day was the Sabbath, and Reverend Dimesdale preached his most powerful sermon. It was the richest and most complete that he had ever addressed to his devoted congregation.